What's up, you guys? It's Graham here. So let's break away from some of the common cookie cutter advice out there when it comes to building your wealth. And trust me, I probably read every single article out there that talks about this because I have way too much free time. And most of them really just tell you the same one-size-fits-all advice, which is save at least 15% of your income, invest in a 401k, don't buy avocado toast, and most importantly, no matter what, always hit the like button if you haven't done that already. Okay, thank you. And I'll be honest, that advice isn't bad at all. In fact, if you just listened to that advice, you would be ahead of what 99% of the population is doing. However, that strategy works really well if you want to build your wealth over decades, not if you want to build your wealth really fast. So for everyone else who wants to take it up a step and build their wealth quickly, here is my advice. Now, first of all, I've said this before and I'll say it again, but be very careful who you take advice from and who you listen to. There's so many people out there who are totally broke, who have no idea what they're talking about, but who love giving financial advice at any opportunity that they can. These are the types of people that tell you that only poor people get loans, or that credit cards are bad, or that you need a college degree to get a good job to be successful, or you shouldn't start a business because that's too risky and too many people fail, and you should be instead happy with what you have and stick with that. Now, don't get me wrong, because a lot of times the people that say this really believe it themselves and they have good intentions behind what they say. But the fact is, if you really want to become wealthy, like the actual you money BitConnect wealthy, then you really need to go against the grain and do what most people are not doing and listen to the people who actually have what you want to achieve. Those are the people who have really done what you want to do, and chances are that's the advice that you should be listening to. And secondly, the reality is that in order to build your wealth without starting with any money, you're gonna have to go and make money. I know this is like Captain Obvious stuff here, but you would be surprised. I mean, in order to build your wealth fast, you have to make a lot of money. There's no way around that. So chances are, if you want to build your wealth fast, you probably aren't going to get there with any sort of traditional job, unless that job is paying you some exorbitant amount of money. So if you're watching this right now and you want to make a ton of money without working a 9-to-5 job, this is my recommendation. Pick a career where the amount of money that you make is not dependent on how many hours that you work. If you decide to ignore this entire video but just focus on one thing, let that one thing just be this. Anytime you work a job where you're paid hourly, you're going to plateau very, very quickly. There's simply just so many hours in a day that you can physically be capable of working, and then once you hit that amount, that's it. That's all you can make. So if you change that and work any job that pays you on results, not your time, you're going to see your income skyrocket. For example, with me, I started off working as a real estate agent, and this is something that I've been doing now for almost 11 years. The amount of hours I work in this job is totally irrelevant. I can work 200 hours at something and get paid nothing if I don't sell the house. Or I can work 5 or 6 hours and sell a $2 million house and get paid a $60,000 commission. Personally, I believe that any sort of sales career is one of the most underrated options out there and is a great stepping stone to a really high income. It'll teach you everything you need to know about customer service and time management, and it'll provide the funding for you to do just about anything else you want to do later in life. But if you're not the type who wants to get into sales because you want something a little bit more stable, but you want to still make more money, just consider this study. This article found that the best way to increase your income and build your wealth is by constantly moving companies, continuing to leverage your skills, and use that as a way to earn more. Or if you get a higher offer from another company, just consider using that as leverage to negotiate a higher raise where you're at now. If you bring value to the company you're currently working for, it should be unquestionable for you to demonstrate your value and how much you're worth. Although I have to say that most stories that you hear about people building up incredible amounts of wealth from nothing did so by starting their own business. These are people who saw an unfulfilled niche and then found a way to solve that problem, or they saw an existing business that was doing well and then found a way just to do that business better. For example, I consider YouTube like my way of starting a business. I saw that most financial literacy out there was boring, it was dull, it was bland, and it was just plain bad. So for me, when I saw this, it's obvious. It's like, no wonder no one cares about learning financial literacy, because this is what's available right now and it sucks. So I started making YouTube videos because I felt like this is a cool topic that I can talk about, and I can do it in such a way that other people can relate to me because I've been through it all myself, and hopefully I'm not that boring. So don't be afraid to go and take risk, because if you want different results from what everyone else is getting, then you're going to have to do something different than what everyone else is doing. And of course, that's very risky. There's a solid chance that you're going to fail and you're going to lose money. And there's also a very solid chance that you're going to drive yourself mentally crazy pouring everything you have into something without any guaranteed return whatsoever. But that's how you actually make it happen, because making a ton of money isn't easy. Otherwise, everyone would be doing it. However, if this is something you want, then I can absolutely tell you that it's 100% worth it. When it comes to me, I really believe that I put in 1 decade from 18 to 28 years old, working really hard, saving everything I could, sacrificing every luxury that I can possibly buy for the sake of investing, to pretty much set myself up to do whatever I want for the rest of my life, within reason, of course. But you get the idea. Good things don't happen without putting in a lot of work and taking some risk to make it happen. And one last thing I want to say on this topic is that you should not be afraid to invest in yourself. In fact, I think this is probably a must. You always need to be doing something to improve yourself, and that does not need to cost you money. For instance, you don't need to take $100 off my program, the Real Estate Agent Academy and the YouTube Creator Academy, link in description if you guys are interested. But no, being serious here, you can invest in yourself for free if you want to. There are so many free videos here on YouTube for you to learn from, or you can pretty much learn whatever you want with just a quick Google search. But now I also recommend investing in yourself in a sense that you'll go and actually use what you learn, and by actually doing it firsthand, you're going to fully understand it and just get better at it. Now the next thing is that assuming you're making some money, you now need to learn how to minimize your tax bill. After posting my Tesla video, it became very evident that most people don't know what a tax write-off is. And it makes sense because very few people ever talk about this, and very few people ever get to the point where they actually need to learn about these things. Everyone loves to tell you how to double your income, but very few people will actually tell you how to keep it from all going back to the IRS. Now this could honestly be its own 30-minute segment by itself because it's so complicated, it's so complex, it's so diverse. There's so many different variations of this, but here's a few things that I recommend that you look into further. The first one is to minimize your taxes with a 401k contribution. The second one is to reinvest back into your business to show the IRS that you now have less net income to then pay taxes on. Now that doesn't mean that you go and lease a company Ferrari to bring down your income. I'm talking about reinvesting back into more infrastructure, outsourcing more work, or expansion, so that way this leads to more income in the future, and right now you're deferring what you owe now. I also recommend that you learn the basics of how the tax code works and then hire the best CPA that you can. That CPA might set you up with an LLC taxed as an S-Corp, or maybe just with an S-Corp that then becomes the entity that runs your business, and then you are paid as an employee and owner of that business. Also, continue investing and buying items that you could depreciate over time. This is one of the reasons why I love real estate, because I can write off the value of the house against my other income. But again, talk to a really good CPA about this before you do any decision on your own. A good CPA is worth every single penny. So moral of the story here is that the more money you make, the less money of that you're going to get to keep. So hire a really good CPA and understand how the tax code works so you can keep more money in your pocket at the end of the day. Now at the same time you're doing everything else, we now get to my favorite topic to talk about. I could talk about this forever. This is it. And this is saving money. So here's a few ways that I do this. Now the first one is when it comes to housing. And housing is arguably one of the biggest recurring expenses that Americans have by far. I think it's estimated that about 1/3 of an American's paycheck goes towards rent or a mortgage. And in my opinion, this is extremely high, this is unacceptable, and you could be saving a lot of money by utilizing a few small techniques. Now what I recommend everyone look into that's so underrated that not many people talk about is what's called house hacking. This is where you buy a 2 to 4 unit investment property, you live in one of the units, and then you rent out the others to cover your cost. Now this is what I'm doing myself, and it means that I can pretty much own my own place in Los Angeles entirely for free. That frees up about 1/3 of my income that I can then go and save and then reinvest. So in a way, it's like I'm earning 1/3 more money because I have 1/3 left over because I don't have this housing expense hanging over my head. And if buying a property right now isn't in the cards for you, just consider living with a roommate. Even just splitting your cost of housing with someone else to share a kitchen with, to share a living room with, and maybe even share a bathroom with. Doing something like that is going to bring down your cost substantially, which in essence, like I said, is like you just making more money. Every dollar you get to save is basically, to me, like an extra dollar that you earn. So it's kind of like you're getting paid now just to have a roommate. Now, secondly, your car is a very big expense. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more nuanced depending on the type of business you're in and the type of car that's expected of you to be driving. But if your car doesn't matter, then I just recommend buying a 5 to 8 year old car that's already seen most of its depreciation, that's good on gas, that's reliable, and then just drive it until it doesn't drive anymore. Or if you're a car guy like me, at least just buy a car that doesn't go down in value. For instance, I bought this Lotus Exige behind me for $50,000, and right now it's probably worth about $53,000 to $55,000. Like 6 years later, this car has not gone down in value whatsoever, and I could pretty much just drive it for free. Other good examples are older Miatas or Honda S2000s. I mean, there are so many different cars out there that are really reliable to run, that are really fun, that don't go down in value. And again, this is pretty much like you just being able to drive a car for free that doesn't lose its value. So if you guys want to learn how to car hack like this and drive a car for free, I did a video on this previously, and I will just link to that in the description if you guys want to go and check that out. Now, another really good money saving trick that I use all the time that's super easy to do is just this: sleep on something or wait a few days before you actually go and buy it. Most of the time, if you just sleep on it, the impulse of buying something just kind of goes away, and then you realize that you never really wanted it that badly to begin with. And then if I really decide that it's worth the cost, and I really decide it's going to add that much of equivalent value to my life, then you know what, I go ahead and I buy it, and at least I know I don't have any regrets. And finally, the best money tip of all is simply just to automate your savings. Make sure you put aside a certain amount of money every single month, no matter what happens. Now, a funny thing happens when you do this is that usually when you reduce your budget and pay yourself first, you usually just find some sort of way to make it happen to a point where all of a sudden, after a while, you just don't notice the missing money going into your savings instead of going into random things that you spend money on. And paying yourself is an absolute must to do. So just get in the habit of doing this consistently, and all of a sudden, after a while, you'll never go back. And finally, when you're doing all of this, I recommend tracking your spending as much as you can. Now, this is pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to go into too much detail on this, but I will recommend mint.com and also personalcapital.com. Just go in, type in all your information. I'm not getting paid to say any of this. They're not a sponsor of any of this. If they would like to sponsor my videos, I'm down, but free mention to them anyway, because I use their services. I like it. Just use one of those websites. It's going to show you exactly where you spend your money, and by doing that, you're going to be able to better determine if some money is going to waste without you even realizing it. And then finally, after you've done all of that, invest your money in something other than your business that you intend to keep for a very long time that will pay you no matter what you do for the rest of your life. And when it comes to me, I pretty much invest all of my money in real estate and index funds. That is pretty much all that I do. It's no surprise that I just make way more money working as a real estate agent and making YouTube videos than I do for my investments. But those investments will be around forever, whereas the money that I make from working as a real estate agent and a YouTuber is only going to be around as long as I spend time on it. So I basically use all of my career money to put into my investments, and then I live 100% off what those investments generate, which allows me to save more of my career money to put back into my investment money, because I know my career money is not going to last forever. It's not going to be indefinite, so I make my best effort to save as much of that as I can, knowing that that's not going to last forever and I'm going to have to live off my investments one day. And as soon as you do that, boom, financial independence, and all of a sudden you've built wealth without starting with any money. I started this journey in high school with $0 in my bank account. I would work part-time after school, saving as much money as I could. I have no college degree. I don't have any crazy skills or anything like this. I just had the determination to know that this is what I wanted. I wouldn't stop until I got it. I took advantage of every opportunity that came my way, and doing all of this consistently without giving up and just believing in the process is what led to all of this today. And that is how you build your wealth with no money. You gotta take risks, don't get paid for your time, get paid on your results, be careful who you listen to, and then go out and just actually do it. So with that said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already smashed that like button yet, make sure to absolutely destroy that like button, destroy the subscribe button, destroy the notification bell so YouTube notifies you anytime I post a video. Also, feel free to add me on Instagram. I post it pretty much daily, so if you want to be a part of it there, feel free to add me there. Thank you again for watching, and until next time.